I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. With me this week is my co-hosts, Jeff Moore, Crystal Cleveland, and Dave Dreher, where we will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. That's these guys. Just take a look. All right, let's introduce ourselves. Up first is the one and only Jeff Moore. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good. How are you, Doc?
Doing good. Are you ready to review a couple movies here on Gruesome Magazine? I
am. And we're getting our second dose of Stephen McCatty in 2 days. In 2 days. And we have a film that is basically a, air quotes, Jeff Moore film. Do we not? It is kind of.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
All right. That voice you hear is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead girl. Crystal, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you doing this fine evening?
It is a fine evening, and I'm glad you're here. Did you enjoy the films we watched this week?
Well, I don't know. I think people are going to have to listen and find out.
I like that. That's right. We do have somebody else joining us. Should we introduce him?
Yeah. I mean, it's the one, the only Mr.
A man that needs no introduction.
Dave! How you doing, Dave? Look,
Hey,
he's real. Everybody clap your hands. Hey!
This is uncharted territory for us, isn't it?
It is uncharted territory.
Video thing.
So we are the grue-crew for Gruesome Magazine, where we gather each week and we review 2 streaming horror films out there. They could be on VOD, they'd be on your Netflix or whatnot, or they could be at a film festival. Right now, there's no film festivals, but that will happen eventually. We are doing a very special episode tonight, as we're doing it live on YouTube. So this is kind of exciting, kind of fun. Like Dave said, scary. Well, not for you. We're like, what's this? But we have an Amazon Prime double feature. I'm excited about this. We have Come to Daddy and we have The Vast of Night, which debuts on Amazon Prime. It's an Amazon Prime original, and it debuts on May 29th, 2020. Exciting.
Yes.
Yes.
That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow, Doc.
It is tomorrow as we recorded. Yes. Give away how late we are doing
it. It is. Holy moly.
Well, let's just dive into it. So up first is Come to Daddy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce it. I'm going to talk about it, and then we're going to have one of the 4 of us are going to start off our first impressions. And the first person is going to give a little bit of the background of the story, and I'm going to play the trailer, just the video, not the audio, as that gets explained. So we'll see if this works. It's going to be interesting. But Come to Daddy, and I'm going to look down here, so it's going to be weird. But Come to Daddy is from director Ant Timpson. The cast includes Elijah Wood, Stephen McCatty, Garfield Wilson, and others. Streaming on Amazon Prime right now. And it's basically about a man in his 30s who travels to a remote cabin to reconnect with his estranged father. And Stephen McCatty is incredibly estranged. This is going to be interesting. All right, so I mentioned that The Vast of Night was a Jeff Moore film. So, Crystal Cleveland, this is going to be you. Tell us what you thought of The Vast of Night. No. See, I did it.
Daddy. Come to Daddy.
Come to Daddy.
So, okay. This movie has Elijah Wood, and I'm sorry, but I just love Elijah Wood. It also has Stephen McCatty, who is clearly one of our faves on. I think everyone pretty much loves him on this show, right, guys? I mean, we all do.
Absolutely,
yes.
I wasn't sure what to expect from this film, and I will tell you that the trailer does not give away half of this movie. I mean, basically, the trailer is what, the first third of the movie, maybe, roughly, perhaps. It definitely has a twist. I really didn't expect it. I feel like it was very well shot. I feel like the acting was, of course, on par from what you would expect from these incredible actors. And it's a weird one. but I also expect that from Elijah Wood, and that's one of the reasons why I love him. It takes some interesting twists and turns. It has some fascinating characters, some awesome kills. Oh my gosh. Actually, one kill that I'm really happy with. And it's just an all-around fun one for me. It started off a little slow, but don't worry, just stick with it and it'll all come together at the end. It is definitely a film that I think not all horror movie lovers are going to get behind because it's not super fast-paced. It doesn't have a ton of action, but it's not a slow burn either. It's like a balance. It's a balancing act. So overall, I definitely would recommend Come to Daddy.
All right. So yeah, this movie is interesting because it starts off like it's going to be a character study between a father and a son, and it does what you may say is a Tarantino twist and goes south and everything goes crazy. But let's find out what the rest of the crew think. So Dave Dreher, you're up next, sir. What is your first impression of Come to Daddy? Got it right that time. Right.
Yay! Yeah, this was a really interesting film. I did not see the twist coming at all. As a matter of fact, again, I don't think we want to go spoiler yet, but when one of the lead characters makes an exit stage left, I was like, well, what the fuck? What is this? Where are we going now? And then it seemed like it was kind of heading towards a little bit of a ghost story, maybe. And then it really, like you said, takes a Tarantino turn and just goes off the deep end. And that's when it really gets fun. It gets definitely darkly humorous. But it's just crazy. And I loved it. I loved this movie. It kept me entertained from start to finish. And I was very happy to see it take that
me too
dark turn. So this is a winner for me. I was loving it.
A winner. Yeah, that dark turn is amazing. But I will say that I was really enjoying it even up until then. Before we find out that somebody isn't who we think they are, I'm like all about it. And then suddenly I'm like, oh no, what's going on? But let's find out what Jeff Moore thinks. Jeff Moore, what is your first impression of Come to Daddy?
Oh, I like this a lot too. And in fact, this is a great movie to watch twice which I did.
You always do.
We can always count
because
on
of these
that.
twists. I just love watching movies where there's a twist or there's reveals that you don't expect. And then but when I watch them the second time, I can see the truth to the way the story is told. They haven't cheated. They haven't lied to you and made it look one way. And then all of a sudden, through the twist at you, it's all there to see the second time around, and it works both ways. So I really enjoyed this. And Stephen McCaddy, oh Lord, he was really good. Yeah, I can't repeat any of his dialogue, but it is
the rat speech is definitely one for the books. Yes,
sure. Rats in different anatomy parts and where the bones end up when you die. Yeah, okay. So, that was good. And then I still don't get. Somebody's got to help me out. I'm too old for this or something. But what was Elijah Wood's wardrobe? Norval's.
Norval.
Those are some strange looking clothes, and I just.
Oh, and the haircut too. That was a weird sport looking thing too.
Which the clothes led Stephen McCaddy's character to throw lots of invectives at him. But anyway,
yes.
No, I enjoyed it. There's some great gore. There's some great twists, and I dare you to see the stuff coming. And I hope we're not even giving stuff away by saying there's a twist. I mean, it says that on the trailer says pull the rug out from under you. So
yeah, I can't believe that. I totally didn't see it coming.
Yeah, consider the rug pulled. Yes,
for sure.
And it was a blast. Yeah. I'm thinking the same thing. This was a surprise. We've been wanting to watch this for quite some time, and it's been escaping us. Right, we've been after it, but we couldn't quite get there. And now it's on Amazon Prime, streaming for free. So we got to see it, and wow, did it blow me away. McCady is great. Elijah Wood is fantastic. The more Elijah Wood gets into what's happening to him, the more wackadoodle noodle it gets. And then we get all these supporting characters, from the coroner to the cop to a gaggle of friends to randos that are at a hotel.
Yeah. What were they called? The architects or
geologists? Russian geologists. A room of Russian geologists.
There's a lot of rocks hanging out there. So
I think some stalagmites too. If I
oh my! So I had a blast, and it won me over on just about every turn. It had me really at the beginning when he, as soon as he drops the phone into the water, and it just
Now there's 19. There's only 20 of those in the world. Now there's 19.
Yeah, it's perfect. So, Crystal, what you mentioned, you also liked Elijah Wood, and we talked about his perhaps androgynous clothes. What did you think about him?
I think he was kind of trying to be kind of a douche, and I think that was on purpose. I mean, I know. Okay, I'm going to bring up one thing in particular, and unfortunately, I really love it. But the black turtleneck. I mean, come on. It's like, here he goes, and he puts, and I'm like, he looks so awesome in it. I love black turtlenecks personally, but I realize that a lot of people have a lot of hate for them because it's like, oh, you're trying to, who are you, Kurt Vonnegut? You're trying to be so cool. You're trying to be so smart. He just wanted to be something more than what he was. And I think his clothes showed that. And the gold phone, really living with mommy and you have your gold phone, huh?
Yeah.
And how they got rid of that, brilliant.
Was he trying to be, was that like metrosexual in some way or something? He had
did you notice he had his nails painted?
Yes,
he did.
Yeah. So there's this book by this guy, I forgot what his name was or whatever, but he talks about guys painting them nails and he calls it peacocking, like gets attention. So I think that's totally the type of guy that Elijah Wood was trying to be here, like this kind of pretentious. Yeah, he comes across as like this rich, pretentious kind of jerk, honestly, and it's kind of a sad character in a way. And then when you meet Stephen, the dad, you see how horrible he is to him, and you're like, oh.
Well, did you like his arc, the character's arc? So he kind of has to live up to a couple things, does he?
Oof.
Does
yeah,
he?
yeah. Oh, well, I mean, the arc is great. Like, I love how he is, quite frankly, kind of a pussy. Okay, he's really just, he's one of those people you're like, get it together, dude, get it together. And then, toward the end, he's just like, wonk. And I was very proud of that. And I really liked the ending. I feel like it all came together. I like the hooker a lot too.
Yeah.
I like how she was such a jerk. And then she had her little arc in just the short amount of time she was on the screen. She had an arc because she's like, wait, I can go this far, but I'm not willing to go that far. So the hooker with a heart of gold.
We always like hookers with the heart of gold. Yeah. So there's did I just reveal something I shouldn't have? We always talk about gore. And Dave, you're the one that has this. You know what you're talking about when it comes to gore. Now, this film doesn't necessarily go all out, but it does have some moments. So tell us, what did you think? Does it reach some heights that horror fans will love?
I think the heights it reach. I mean, the gore is good, and it the fact that it's I'm going to call it outrageous gore. I mean, it's kind of fun gore, and I don't want to give. It's hard to talk about this because I don't really want to give anything away. Because the gore gags are actually also big plot points, like the guy in the bathroom.
Yes.
And the scene on the street with the whatever the hell that is. He gets stuck
Black Rose.
Yeah, the black. Yeah, but I don't want to reveal that because it's just so much fun. You got to kind of see it yourself. But yeah, I think it worked well. Again, it's another one of those instances where the gore actually enhances the story, and it's not just there to wake you up because you've fallen asleep because the story sucks.
Good point. Yeah,
so-
it does service the story very well.
Big time. I thought really well.
Yeah.
So Jeff, tell us about the other characters. You can jump into anyone or as few and far as you would like, but how
can I talk about the director first?
Absolutely, that's perfect. Tell us about.
Pardon me? Okay. Well, people may not know this because he's sort of behind the scenes most of the time, but Ant Timpson is the director. And he has produced, this is out of New Zealand, and he's produced a bunch of those films that have come to us from down under, like Deathgasm and Turbo Kid and Housebound. So I think this is his first feature as a director, but it's got that sort of, I was expecting some humor that was a little more straight out, but it's really dry and in the general behavior of the storytelling rather than flat out jokes, if that makes any sense. As far as the characters, I love the Jethro character. He was awesome. That hair,
he was good.
That hair was great. And I don't know if you noticed, but every time he does something, before he gets in the car, he always looks in the mirror and straightens his hair. So I don't know that it does much good, but
I'm not certain that it did either.
And he's not particularly, I was going to open with that line he has about, I can read body language and I can tell you're lying because I read an article about it.
Yeah, the up and to the left. He looked up and to the left.
Yeah. And all he was doing was looking for somebody, but it worked out. All right. Well,
and a jerk to the end. I mean, come on. Really? Do you have to shatter someone's image of their parental figure?
Oh, man.
I was like, really?
Obliterates.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. This should be a lot of fun. Crystal, you're up first.
So definitely, I think you should watch this one. It was one that I wanted to watch so bad when we were maybe going to have the chance to review it and didn't. But I'm so glad that I got to see it now. And I'm not bitter. It's totally worth the wait.
Totally worth the wait.
But I'm going to give it I'm teetering at 3.75.
Oh, nice.
And nice. I almost want to go a little higher, but I'm not quite there. I probably should watch it again. And then I think this is one of those films that I'll watch it and like it more and more as it goes along, kind of like Napoleon Dynamite for some reason. And my favorite scene, I just have to. It's just the groin. I love it. Like I wasn't
sure what you were doing there for a hot second, but yes, yes.
I was so proud. I was just really proud. Yeah.
It was a moment of birth for him.
It was.
It truly was.
And I honestly, that was the moment I was like, oh, that's what kind of movie we're watching. Okay. Good.
Yeah. All right. Dave, you're up next. What's your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene for? You know what it is. It's Come to Daddy.
Come to Daddy. You almost said it wrong again, didn't you?
I had to stop and pause.
Yeah. I like this a lot. It really was a fun ride. Didn't know where it was going to take us. You just got to kind of hold on and go along. And I liked it a lot. Again, I'm really desperately trying not to say too much because I don't want to ruin the view for anybody. So there's a lot of great scenes, and I'm going to be kind of purposely vague here. You guys will know what I'm talking about. And after people watch the movie, they'll know what I'm talking about. But my favorite scene has got to be the one that starts with the black rose getting shoved into the cheek. And through it all, there's a car that runs into a sign, and we end up on a road, and the black rose comes into play again.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And that whole scene I thought was really over the top, yet really great and gross and humorous. Mm-hmm. It had everything. I'm also going to give us a 3.75.
Nice, nice. I kind of knew you were going to take that scene. I kind of knew. Yeah,
love that scene.
All right, Jeff Moore, you're up next. What's your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene? Come to Daddy.
Yeah, I think this is well worth a watch. and I'm, you know, I hate to be a I can't even think of the word I want.
What, fuddy duddy?
Never mind. No. I'm gonna go 3.75 as well.
Nice.
And
nice. Okay.
mostly for I was gonna do 3.5, but I Stephen McCaddy was just so much fun. God, he was so much fun. So 3.75. And favorite scene. Let me think. I put a couple down. Dave took the first one, so I'm going to talk. I'm going to say the whole conversation with his dad, Norval, with his dad, Stephen McCaddy, when it really gets into the whole rat discussion and calling of names and ending with quite the resounding bang. So.
A resounding bang, yes.
Or thud, maybe thud.
Yeah, that's a great scene. You might have taken my scene. Wow. For me, it's very similar. I was very surprised by this film. I found it to be insanely entertaining, really well written, very well acted. McCaddy and Elijah Wood together are to just play off each other with this. There's this entire speech about where Elijah Wood's character is trying to impress his father, right? And it brings up Elton John. and then it just goes really south quickly from there. And it just really puts these two characters to light in front of us. And that's what this film's about. It's about exposing all these layers. And when a really huge layer opens up about maybe a third of the way in, maybe a little less, it's just like, what? How is this happening? So I'm going to give it a 3.75 as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Agreement.
Straight up the gate. Yeah. So, and my favorite scene, what can I choose for a favorite scene? Because you took them all.
It happens when you go last, Doc.
Yeah. So
you gotta love it when somebody gets beat to death with a roll of saran wrap.
Yes,
yes,
kind
that's
of.
true.
Oh God,
Yeah, that was pretty good. And nobody's taken. Well, you better give yours, Doc. I don't want to take yet another of yours, but
I was gonna say there was a lot going on with that scene. Crystal,
yes, there was.
But for me, I think it was when everything started coming together, and Elijah Wood's he finds this secret stash of stuff, and it's. There's something really kind of weird has happened, and he finds he thinks maybe the place is haunted for a little bit, which is really great. And then he finds a secret stash and he opens it up and he's looking at the items in it, and one's a photo book. And as he's going through the photo book, he starts to realize something, and we as the audience with him start to realize something. And that is one of the greatest aha moments in recent memory. It's just like, what? Oh, what? And then you realize, all right, nothing's what we think it is. Where are we going now? Because we have no clue whatsoever. So I really love that. That was a great scene.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Sorry, there was another one too that I'm sorry. I just unhooking the chain, the unhooking of the chain.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I died. I just died. And I know no one will understand what that is until you get to that scene, but it's like, oh,
off the chain.
so good.
Well, the same thing though with the ear, the whole ear speech about the eating of the ear.
Oh,
it's just like like just so bizarre, but so good.
Don't judge me. Don't judge me.
Don't judge me.
What his dad?
It was yellow. That was my favorite line. It was yellow. Don't judge me.
Oh. But it wasn't
Stephen McCaddy tells him. He just walks into the bathroom while he's brushing his teeth and tells him, I kicked the guy's ear clear off his head. You could see his skull. And then he just turns around and walks out. Something's wrong.
It's great dialogue like that. I imagine that dialogue really rings when you watch it the second time. It'll be fascinating. All right, so that's our review for Come to Daddy. Up next is an Amazon Prime original. It's called The Vast of Night. This did, it went to film festivals, and we heard a lot about it from the one and only Joseph Perry, right, Jeff?
Yes, we did.
Did he
Yes,
put it
we
on
did.
his top 10 for last
It was,
year?
I think it was on his top 10, and I believe Come to Daddy was on his recommended, honorable mention.
I bet it was. So this is very much a Jeff Moore film in the way it's constructed and plays out. That doesn't mean it's bad. It actually means it's very good. And Joseph Perry, well, a very Joseph Perry film. Now that one, it's a toss on the coin. Sorry, Joe. You never know. But Vast Night, it comes from director Andrew Patterson. The cast includes James Montague and Craig W. Sanger. I don't have the girl's name, so Jeff, I'm going to let
Sierra McCormick, and she's fantastic. It comes to video, Prime Video, May 29th. And it's basically in the twilight of the 50s. In one fateful night in New Mexico, a young switchboard operator and well, I guess my thing isn't working. A charismatic radio DJ, Everett, discover a strange audio frequency that could change their small town and the future forever. And it very much is that. This is a very interesting film, and I can't wait to hear what people think. So, Jeff, you're up first because this is a Jeff Moore film. So tell us, sir, what is your first impression of The Vast? Yeah. Well, I was thrilled right off the bat when it starts off like a Twilight Zone episode, right? You get a Rod Serling impression voiceover, but with different words, and then you get to see a black and white television with the old round tubes. This takes place in the 50s. Lots of cool cars, and so that got me hooked right away to start looking at it. Only the TV show is called, help me out, guys, I think I got this right, it's The Paradox Zone.
That's it.
Was that it?
Sure.
Yeah. So so anyway, you don't really know what's going on, but about, I don't know, it's not too far in, maybe 10, 12 minutes into it. One of the main characters, what was his name?
Everett?
Everett.
Everett, the DJ?
Yeah, Everett. All right. So Everett's a DJ, and then he has his friend, Fay, who is an old style telephone switchboard operator. So Everett's going off to the radio station to do his radio show, and she's going to the switchboard. And almost the entire rest of the town is at a basketball game. And just weird stuff starts happening right away. She's listening to the radio, and she starts hearing some strange noises. And pretty soon she's hearing these noises over the switchboard. And then it just goes on from there as they try to connect with people in different places to a certain extent, only not quite as devastating. The clues they get are just sort of like eerie and creepy. It makes them feel, out of control, kind of, or they're don't know what's going on. But it reminded me a little bit of Pontypool because they're isolated in this radio station and they're trying to call people and find out what's going on. And so that's kind of what's going on with this one to start with. I thought both of the leads were really good, especially Sierra McCormick as Fay, the telephone switchboard operator. I loved her. I'm not sure, was that supposed to be her baby or
no
little brother or something? Or
actually, it was one of her friends that was babysitting the baby.
Right.
And then she tried to call the friend, couldn't get a hold of her, and I guess she just wanted to check on the baby to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to watch this one twice. But I will. So yeah, I just thought it was a really, really well told story in terms of releasing the information and not very many people knew what was going on and trying to put the pieces together and feeding that old sort of, I don't think we're giving anything away to say kind of an Area 51 or Roswell type feel to it. What's going on? They're hiding something, Great stuff.
Great stuff. Yeah. Having it in the 50s really makes it work. The cast is fantastic, and there's some really wonderful things to talk about when it gets to how this film is is structured and how it's filmed. Well, let's find out what the rest of the crew think. Dave. Yes,
I'm sorry. And the director, this is like his first thing. I do that all the time. So
we love you.
People would expect it. The director, this is like his first credit of any kind.
What? I mean,
I don't know what else they've done, but it's amazing.
Who's the DP? I'm dying to know who the DP is. Does anyone know? Because the DP is mind blowing.
Yes.
How lengthy? Sorry, no, that's not.
The cinematography in here is beautiful. But let's find out what Dave thought. Dave, you're up next. What is your that's easy for me to say. What is your first impression of The Vast of Night?
The Vast of Night is a movie we're going to be talking about for decades. This is a very, very special movie. I was completely taken off guard and blown away by this. I mean, we're going to talk about this movie like we talk about Spielberg movies now.
Yeah.
This guy is incredible. The structure of the story, his shots, that one shot.
Oh, I know. The one where they're trapped.
Like, how the hell did he do that? I don't know how he did it. I don't know how it's possible.
Which one?
The one where
she leaves. Yeah, they leave the switchboard and they go all the way down the street into the basketball game. And they spin around a couple times.
Right. That was awesome.
It's a continuous shot, and
but they go over the people. I was like, and then they go up and down. I was like.
Spielberg tried to do that in War of the Worlds, with that one where they're in the car and he's like on the right side, the left side, and they're in front and around. But it didn't work as well as it worked here. This movie is a love letter to War of the Worlds. I mean, the radio station is WOTW, War of the Worlds. This is, it completely took me back to, when I was young, I was completely mesmerized by Orson Welles' broadcast of War of the Worlds. And this movie, and they actually do it a couple times in this movie. There are no images on the screen. It just goes black. You could not even watch this. You could just listen to it, and it still works. I mean, you really could. But the panic and the fear and the uncertainty and everything that was going on. This is we're watching something that not 10 years from now, we're going to be going back going, oh my God, I remember when I watched this guy's first movie and we knew he was going to be huge because this guy is phenomenal. He can do this out the gate. He's going to change filmmaking. Yeah. So this, I honestly think it might be the single best film I've ever watched since I've been doing these.
Wow.
Really good. Really impressive.
Did you like it?
Unfortunately, it sucked. But no, it was really seriously. As I watched it, I mean, even that opening scene, Jeff already alluded to it. Yes. Where we just kind of slowly go into the TV, and then, the show that we're watching, we're a part of. I was like, that was just amazing.
Well, I think that opening shot too, where they follow Everett into the gym, I think that's a pretty long one shot too, isn't it?
It's nothing like the most impressive one I'd seen before this was in Creed, when they do that whole thing of Apollo's son coming out of and going into the ring and dancing around with him for a while. That was like a 2.5 minute single take shot, and that was amazing. But this goes on for freaking ever, and it was just amazing. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah, there's dialogue going on, conversations with multiple people coming in and out. It's crazy.
It really is. It was insane. And performance of the radio host guy, I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name. I mean, he was being Orson Welles. I mean, he just was. I mean, he was trying to sound like Orson Welles, with his radio voice. She even alludes to it at one point. She's like, your voice, you change your voice when you're on the radio.
It's all the same stuff. I'm so,
Yeah,
really impressive. All right, well, let's find out what Crystal thinks. Crystal, what is your first impression of Vast of Night?
I am completely, if you can't tell that I'm completely 1000% with Dave, I'm completely 1000% with Dave. From the opening shot, that was so lengthy. At first I was like, and it's such a wide shot and it's very lengthy. And then it goes into another lengthy shot and another it's something we haven't seen. And I was like, this is fascinating. And the conversations were incredibly boring, but it didn't really matter. They were just talking and conversing and just explaining the characters and getting you acquainted with the town. I don't know how they filmed this, if they took over an entire town or what, but that one shot, I rewound it. Hello. I backed it up or rewound it or whatever on my screener. And I think I watched it 3 or 4 times. And I just couldn't stop. I was like, this is blowing my mind. From a movie making perspective, not ignoring the story, ignoring everything else. This guy, who is he? Whose man's is this? Because it is freaking, it's just amazing. It really is. It's like, I was just looking at this and I was like, the shots where she's at the switchboard were incredibly long. So not only did he have an amazing DP, and I don't know, it could be him for all I know. Not only did he have an amazing DP, but he had an exceptional cast because she held that entire scene alone and was phenomenal. I was just like, wow, she just had it all going. I don't know how long it took them to film this. I don't know how long it took them to set all this stuff up, but just from that alone, I'm blown away. And then we get into everything else. Like, I think that the setting, the costuming, everything is, it's so good. It's just, yeah, I love this movie too. It's so good. I was like, oh my God, that's so cute. Like, just everything just worked. And I loved how in the shot that we're talking about again, about how they emphasized how empty the town was when you're traveling through it. And that's one of the themes throughout, and that an older lady talks about how supposedly they want to, I think her ideas of what aliens want is a little wacky, but whatever. That they find the solitary people. So like everyone was at the game, but then, out in the streets, it was completely barren. And then you go to the radio host, it like focus, there's a lot of good in this. I love the callers and I love the calls and it's something special. I'm completely with Dave. I think it's something special. Is it going to appeal to everyone? Absolutely not. There's going to be a ton of horror movie lovers that are out there going, this is dumb, blah, blah, blah. But anyone who makes movies or enjoys watching, films in general, and not just, I think people are going to be blown away, especially filmmakers, because they're going to be like, oh, that's beautiful. I love what he did there. This is great. Oh, that actress is so good. Oh, that actor is so good. I love the caller. I love this, blah, blah, blah. Everything. It's like, bleh, it's good.
You guys ever see a movie called Talk Radio with Eric Bogosian?
No.
You need to watch. It's an Oliver Stone movie. It's not a horror movie, but I think horrific things happen in it. But it's like about a shock jock. But it reminded me a lot of this. It's just a lot of talking, and but the characters are so great that it reminded me of that in its structure a little bit. So if you ever get a chance, Talk Radio by Eric Bogosian.
Typically, when you have movies like this that are so focused on the characters, you get in close to their faces to show their emotion and their interaction. But he did the exact opposite. Like when they were walking and having a conversation, he's literally behind them.
Like
you can't
way
see
behind them
at all. I'm not going to lie. At first, it kind of messed me up. I was like, oh, weird, but I love it. Oh, because it's so unique, but it worked. And it worked because of the actors and because of how he put everything together. It's just fascinating, really, like very fascinating. Sorry.
Yeah. I really liked how this was put together. The structure, the dialogue, the composition, the cinematography is beautiful. The movie doesn't do a whole lot. But that's kind of the point of this story. It does kick in. There's one moment that I found particularly chilling, but everything is, for the most part, implied or sensed, if you will. They're kind of like a mood. It's very atmospheric. This director would be very suited for Amblin films, and he's very Spielbergian. I think somebody
had like kind of a Super 8 feel to it too. Like
I can see that.
Yeah,
but better. Sorry,
Oh, well, far better. I'm telling you, this person is going to reinvent filmmaking.
Well, I think he's definitely going to be a name. He's just discovering himself too. I mean, because there are some hiccups in this. There's some choices that I don't think really work as well as others.
Really? Like what?
I didn't like when it
How
goes.
does it feel to be wrong, Doc? Tell us.
Well, I'm so used to it. It's actually pretty easy. I didn't like when it went dark. I thought that took me out of the film. But
I love that because I thought I think this guy was trying to make like an audio play is what he was trying to do, and I think that's what he was showing. He was like, "Look, I can make this work and not have to show you a goddamn thing."
That's true. He did.
I see it from your perspective too, Doc. I mean, for me, I liked it as well, but I know that in other movies, I've seen the screen go black and just been livid. Why can't I see something? This one, it didn't bother me, but I get why it does.
Well, I wasn't sure at first if something had happened.
Thought the screener had gone bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, in that respect, and I'm not really sure what. Well, anyway, I don't want to belabor it because it's almost a nitpick. Because this movie is kind of like a thesis on how to structure a film. It's really, really well done. Yeah. And there's
to go along with what you were saying, Doc. I'm sorry, but the black screen and everything. So mine actually locked up my screener right after the radio went bad for Fay. And then she turns and starts to say something, and then the screen froze up, and it took me a while to figure out, wait a minute, is this part of this movie? Because the guy was doing such interesting stuff. I had to look and see the timer and make sure that it was ticking off. So sorry, I won't do it again.
No, that's not true. I liked when they went and visit the elder lady, and that the whole scene when they get to the house and they go in and his reaction to it and everything. He doesn't take the note, but yet he realizes he had a backup and didn't know it right later on, and that leads to the chilling scene that really kind of made my skin crawl. I will say that the film is very rewarding in the end, and that made me very happy. So there's a lot to like about this. A lot to like.
Agreed.
So Jeff, you were mentioned. You mentioned the director, Ant Timpson, and of course we've got Andrew Patterson here, and we're talking a lot about him. But what you were mentioning that the actress was in another film we saw?
Yes, Sierra McCormick was in VFW that we saw a couple of 2-3 months ago.
Whoa!
She played the woman that became hooked up with the old guys in the bar.
What? Wow, I didn't even recognize her at all.
Yeah, I didn't either. I had to go back and look. I looked at some of the pictures and figure, yep, that's her.
That's awesome.
So it's hard to, with short hair and black stocking hat on, don't really recognize her. But yeah, she was good in that. She's really good at this, and she does a great job playing this character.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I love those scenes on the switchboard where she was so expressive in her face.
Yeah, everybody is so authentic. And that's what really makes this work. Now, Jeff, we call this a Jeff Moore film. You want to take a stab at why I'm calling it a Jeff Moore film? What are the qualities of a Jeff Moore film?
Oh, no.
I think I've been insulted, but I'm not sure what it was.
No, not at all.
So what you're talking about, I would say, are things where there's not a lot of action, there's not a lot of gore. It's very atmospheric. There isn't any gore actually, let alone a lot of gore. But it's the tension is high. That creep factor, the goosebumps, those things. It was great at that. All you had to do was hear some of the voices on the radio, and you'd just start get the chills, to see what was going to happen next. So I think that's what you're talking about. There's not a lot of locations. You've got the switchboard, you've got the radio. There's a pass through the gym, but that's not really a main location. And then we're outside doing some other stuff.
Yeah, but
by far, those are the two main locations.
But what's great is how to get from one location to the other. We literally
that's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah,
I mean, you got an immediate idea of the size of that town.
Yeah. And I love that she's so used to walking that she just starts off when she has a car right there. She can jump in.
Yep.
All right, Dave. This is the opposite of a Dave Dreyer film. You are known for the gore and usually has to have a Sasquatch in it or something. And
some action somewhere.
Big monsters, maybe some boobs. Boobs would be good, right? What? And but you wrote, and you were saying you love this film, and I would not have pegged this as a Dave Dreyer film. So, what happened? What happened, Dave?
I'm very complicated, Doc.
You are.
You don't actually know me. This just really played to back to my love of that era. I love like old radio shows and the older horror. I mean, the more classic horror. The Frankenstein type stuff. And this played back into the, like I said, into the Orson Welles. It took us right back into that when we didn't have to be afraid of monsters that bit your head off and stuff. Just flying saucers can scare the shit out of you. And this played into the paranoia of that time. It just did. I mean, the girl was amazed by a handheld tape recorder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was just totally blown away that, you could just carry this around with you. And I'm old enough to remember when, reel-to-reels were the, were the standard of quality. I mean, that's what you had. If you wanted to hear good quality sound, you had the reel-to-reel. But it just harkened back to an earlier time. And I think also, as I just love great writing. And this thing is just written beautifully. But again, very much kind of like a Tarantino movie. A lot of talking, a lot of information flying at you, all the time, but always keeping you interested and tuned into the story. And I just thought it was great. And then you throw in this guy's visual dynamics of what he was doing with the camera and, the shots he created. And someday I'm going to have to find out. Maybe when this thing comes out on Blu-ray, we'll get a making of featurette or something that shows us how the hell he did that shot.
I would totally love to interview the director.
That was just absolutely insane. And there is payoff at the end. I know the scene you're talking about, Doc, and I won't mention it because I think you want to make it your favorite scene. But that was terrifying because up to that point we really didn't have much really going on.
That's true.
And all of a sudden that happens. You're just like, holy shit. And again, it's not, there's no blood, no gore, nothing over the top. It's some simple lighting and it's not much to it. And then of course at the end we get the big money shot of the menacing, the menacing thing in the sky. But I think overall it just played really, 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 really well. And I love this movie. We may have just watched my favorite movie of the year.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
We'll see what happens.
The dialogue is fantastic. There's a whole running dialogue, Crystal, you might remember it, that when they're walking down the street and Fay's telling Everett about, cars are going to drive by themselves and we're going to have fun.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yes. Where are you getting this? Popular mechanics and all this. That's when the dialogue really started kicking in, because up until the time that, maybe a little bit earlier when they're interviewing people, because the dialogue's a little chaotic at first. It's very.
Well, he's very radio announcer. Come on, he's like, come on, ask the questions. You know how like radio DJs? What? Was anyone a radio DJ here? Those fast talking men. But like he's very that, especially of that time, like that fast talking kind of. I mean, look, he's giving away fake Elvis carpet.
Elvis
and she's like, "Are you going to send him the fake Elvis?"
It's amazing though, because before they get to that, all that, it's really just dribble, but it's brilliant dribble of them interviewing people.
Well, the whole thing about the squirrel eating through the cord, and it was a chipmunk, and and the whole thing, none of it matters, but it was still at the same time you couldn't not hear it.
Right. It's naturalistic and very conversational and very what you would hear. So what's really cool about it, I thought, and Crystal, you back me up on this or not, is that it sets the tone for the rest of the film, because we're drawn into, local color, if you will, through dialogue.
Yeah, we're really drawn into this. I think it really starts to take you out of our time and make you realize what it was like. People just walking up to other people, actually, and interacting and talking, and that was like the hotbed of excitement for the night. And it's so. I think it was brilliant because I do think it kind of made us go. Ooh. So we were I think that's why it was okay that the movie was not really all that much was happening for a long extended period. And I was okay with that. I mean, I a lot of the time I side with Dave. I'm very much like Dave. Sometimes I like Jeff's stuff too, but mainly I'm like blood, yeah. So, and I loved this a ton. It's a very fascinating dynamic, and it's a really interesting ride. And I do think that bringing you down and just kind of having you go along with it, and it was interesting enough to keep you interested, and it was cute enough. I mean, their conversation was so cute. I mean, I guess they were basically trying to say that maybe they had some budding romance or something, because everyone would be like, stop smiling. It's just precious. The whole thing is so innocent and precious, and I love
such a nice boy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is that a radio boy? Oh, my.
Well, they did have some natural chemistry. I mean, it wasn't. It was homegrown chemistry. It felt, like I said, authentic is the word I've been using a lot, and it just felt authentic and very natural. I really enjoyed the characters in here. There's a lot to love in this film. With that, let's wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene for The Vast of Night. Jeff, start us off.
Well, I'm going to leave some of those scenes that you guys talked about for you guys because you brought them up. To me, this is, Dave mentioned War of the Worlds. I think also Twilight Zone. And I remember thinking as I'm watching this would have been an awesome movie to come out in the 50s around the same time as Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that kind of thing. That whole little bit of paranoia and small town feeling. But this is excellent. Thanks to Joseph Perry for turning us on to this, because this is one of those. He always has like half of the movies on his list for 2019 or ones I hadn't seen yet, because he got them all for screeners from festivals. So I make a list and I keep my eye out for them. And we knocked 2 of them off this week, Come to Daddy and The Vast of Night. So The Vast of Night, I'm going to make this hard on myself, but I'm going to say 4.5.
Nice.
And for my favorite scene, I'm going to take when she is when Fay is in the telephone switchboard, and there's kind of a long one shot where the camera's down low, kind of around the edge of the table, and she's pulling and answering calls, and weird things are happening. The radio goes off, somebody gets interrupted in the middle of a call, she hears something odd over the line. I just thought that was brilliantly acted, and the fact that the camera didn't move around was really good too. So that's the one I'm picking.
Yeah, I might talk to you about this camera moving around, because even when it was static, like those scenes, it was still fluid. It would slowly pan in.
Oh, absolutely.
And like the conversation.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Like the conversation with the woman in the house. It's basically either a shot of her or a shot of him, and rarely anything else. But every time, the story progresses, the camera closes in. It was very fluid, very interesting. All right, let's continue. Dave Dreher, what's your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene for The Vast of Night?
Well, I'm going to maintain what I said from the start. This is a very special movie. We'll be talking about this for many years to come. I'm very excited for what this I'm assuming it's a young gentleman. I don't really know anything about him.
He's not, actually.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him. Or I really don't. I've done no research on him whatsoever. But for this new filmmaker, I guess we should say then, I'm very excited about what he can muster up. It's incredibly well written. Absolutely masterfully shot. There's actually nothing that I don't like about this movie. I think in my history of doing these, I don't know if I've ever given out a 5, but this one gets a 5 for me.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It completely just blew me away on every level. Favorite scene. This is too easy of a one, but until I figure out how he did it, it's going to be my favorite scene. There's nothing I can do about it. But that long shot
absolutely.
I mean, I don't know if he filmed it backwards and he was on a track or some kind of steady cam. I don't know what the hell he did. I have no idea how he did it. But
it's so fluid.
yeah, it just never. I mean, and especially when we go into the gym and they stop and he spins around and looks at the band, and I don't know.
Dave, think about it. If one of those basketball players had missed the ball or something, I mean, it could have been ruined at any point throughout. And I'm like, oh,
how many takes?
Yeah. So I don't know how he did it, and that's part of the reason why I love it so much, because it seems impossible, yet he did it. I love the little shout outs to War of the Worlds with the radio station and that. I mean, I caught that like instantly, I was just like, I just absolutely loved all of that. So yeah, it's a big 5 for me. Find this movie and watch it. I will own it. I will own the poster. Mm-hmm. I will have everything having to do with this.
Oh, wow.
I want to be on the forefront of heralding this director, because I think he's something special.
That's amazing.
Well, and I do have to take back what I said. I think he is fairly young, but there's one picture in IMDb that looks like a bunch of gray in his beard, but it must just be sunlight or something, because there's other younger pictures of him.
Yeah, he needs to reach out to us. We need to talk to this guy.
All right, Crystal Cleveland, it's your turn. What is your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene for Fast and Light?
So I think everyone should at least give it a go. I absolutely loved this movie. Some parts of it were literally jaw dropping for me. Just mind blown. Was not ready for it, but I'm so glad that we watched it. I even love the font that they used. I love that they didn't go with like an old school font. They went with a more modern sci-fi font. I don't know. All the choices were just really, really good, and that's so rare. The score. So this is a tough one, because I was thinking 4.5, and then as we've been talking about it, I'm liking it more and more. I just can't give something a 5 yet. I'm just not ready. So I'm gonna have to go with the 4.75. So it's definitely gonna make my top 10.
I mean, I think I've heard you give. Yeah.
I'm not ready to give a 5 yet.
I'm not ready.
I love it. I just love it.
Just not ready.
If this one's not a 5, I don't know what's gonna be. I can't wait to see that one.
It better be that would be but it's something special. It really, really is just something special. And if you watch it and it's yeah. So my favorite scene. I mean, I don't know which one Doc is going to pick, but I mean, it kind of blew me away. I'm going to take another one. I think Doc's going to take the other one. But honestly, I'm like, can I get any more cryptic? But the payoff at the end was shocking to me.
Mm-hmm. You weren't sure if they were going to go there, right? So.
Yeah, and it was really good. And see, that's another thing. It's another thing that kind of blows me away, because they clearly spent a lot of time on that. And when I saw, I mean, there's this point where they look up into the sky and they're like, oh, there is something. And I'm like, what? There's nothing. I didn't see anything. And I was like stopping it and trying to look. And I was like, maybe it's my brightness. And I'm like, I guess they're just going to leave it to the actors to give us the goods. And then, we have such an interesting several shots. Actually, these shots are actually faster. It kind of speeds up, which is interesting. And that's another choice that's really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of good scenes, but it really blew my mind, because I was like, oh, cool, yay!
Well,
and the way they did other little ones, I just think that's fun.
Because there's so much conspiracy theories going on, till that point, that outside of one scene, which I may talk about, you didn't know if you were going to get that payoff or not. And
when they looked into the sky, I was like, you mean there's something in the sky? You mean stars? I mean, I was like, am I missing something?
Yeah.
Apparently so.
Such a payoff. I like this movie too. I'm finding that I don't like it as much as the three of you, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. Again, the cast is phenomenal, the direction is phenomenal, the cinematography, the editing. We need to give the editor some praise here. Everett, it's a sound.
Oh God, I can't believe I didn't mention the sound. Yes. Oh my God, the music was amazing. There were points. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and the sound that we're supposed to hear, it has a signature to it that we recognize, the structure of it, the pacing, the shots, the amazing shots. So there's a lot to like, and I'm loving it more the more we're talking about it. I know you guys like the black scenes, but they drove me nuts. That's really the thing. I'm going to give it a 4.5, so it's still a great story.
Oh yeah.
It is. It deserves a lot more exposure than it's going to get. I don't know how it can get more exposure. It's kind of, our which is kind of part of the fascination and the success is that its tone and pacing is the opposite of what we go for in theaters right now. It's definitely not the MTV editing kind of cut, if we were to phrase it that way. And I think that's what Crystal, you and I were talking about with that first couple scenes where we get eased into that, right? We get drawn from our expectations into what it is. And the benefit is this wonderful shot that does it along, because the dialogue there isn't as important as the dialogue gets later, right? It's just fluff. It's just getting to know the characters, how they speak, how they act, their mannerisms, whether they're shy, whether they're outgoing, whether they know a lot of people, whether they don't. And it's such great character building. So yeah, 4.5 may be too dang on low.
I'm thinking that too.
My favorite scene.
You got to take it. I know which one you're
we saved it. We saved it for you.
You did so wonderfully and graciously for me. I mentioned earlier that when they're talking to the lady has this saying, this phrase that she repeats, and there's an importance to the phrase, and she wants Everett to take it. He doesn't, but he's been recording the entire thing. And as they're driving with their friends, we meet the friends very early on in the movie at that beginning scene, and then we meet them again, and then we meet them again. They keep recurring, and now they're in the car, and we're all together, and we're heading out to this farm or something where everybody's said they see these things in the sky, and he starts playing back that phrase, and they react, and it is so chilling because it isn't over the top. It's very subtle. It's very purposeful. It's very the words are escaping me, but it made my skin crawl.
It's creepy.
Yeah, it really is effective, and I appreciated that scene so much. I did love the scene, Crystal, you're talking about later too. I mean, from then on, it just goes bonkers because. Fay when it comes to fight or flight, she flies a lot.
She runs for sure.
She does, and Everett has to go after her, and then it just gets really, really interesting from there. So, yeah, what do you think? How do we share this film, Dave? How do we tell? I mean, this is one way.
How do we share it? I really think it'll find its audience. I really truly do. I don't think it'll have a problem. So. Amazon Prime is a huge what's the word I'm looking for? We've all lost our words. Yeah, a lot of people subscribe, and hopefully, a lot of these podcasts, much like ours, will sing its praises, and the audience will find it because it needs to be watched, and quite frankly, greatness gets found. I mean, it just does. It'll find its audience. I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Greatness gets found.
It'll be on a lot of top 10s at the end of the year. It might
take
people some time to find it, but share the heck out of it.
Share the heck out. All right. Well, that's our review for The Vast of Night. It is currently playing on Amazon Prime. So if you like this review, go check it out. If you'd like to give us some feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Feedback@gruesomemagazine.com is the way to do it. Or you can
and let us know about the video, right? If
Yeah.
like
Yeah. What do you think of this new format? You like looking at our, 3 ugly mugs and one much easier to look at mug.
3 gray beards.
What easier to look at. All right. So, yeah, you can leave comments below right here on this video.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, look for us on Facebook. Look for us on Gruesome Magazine. Do that. Be sure to subscribe. We're starting this video channel, so subscribe, find out. Make sure you like us. Make sure you click the bell to get notified. So if you want to see more, make sure you click so you can see some more, right?
Waka waka.
Waka waka. All right, guys. Well, as we do all the time, Jeff, Dave, Crystal, I thank you for joining me. This was a ball.
It worked out well.
Yes, it was. You're welcome.
All right. With that, let's say good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.